All right, folks, here we go on this Friday. Yes, Friday arrives. We are going to begin. Boy, I can't get over how much news there is, but there is. Yes, Gian says the audio is strong. And folks, we're going to begin in just a couple moments. There's Janet Dwyer. Lynn Miller, I'm going to touch on the bridge yesterday. Wow, that was one for the ages. It was. That was the McGreed. Governor McKee. Hi there, Cheryl. Yes, last night was a busy night. Big win by the Patriots. You know, it really worked out well with, we got to cover the homicide in Providence, which I believe was a domestic situation. And then I did enjoy watching the Patriots. That are just so enjoyable. And you know what else is great is now. I watch when I'm watching I watch every play. If I'm watching the Patriots, I will watch every single play, like a lot of people. Yes, that's right, Lynn Fella, the good old bridge. There's Jade Lynn. Yes. There's Cindy out. So it's it's freeing to me to know that on Sunday, I'm usually good. I'll watch one football game a day. I know there's some people, obviously the wagering, betting, sports betting, that has a lot to do with it. But I can give one game my full attention. And then I'll usually watch the second half of the 4:00 game. And then I do like having the Sunday night game just on, even if it's just like in the background. So, but I know that I know that I know guys that they sit and watch all three games on a Sunday. I can't do that. I just have too much going on. So, but I can totally sit and watch one good game. So, and that was, hey, you know what else I want to touch on is I don't like so many of the sports announcers that, this one's a bum and this one, and he sucks. And this, listen, the Jets, all those guys are professional football players. Okay. Top athletes, world class. I can imagine. That's right, Jane Rice. Did you at least enjoy some game day snacks? Do you at least enjoy? I guess so. All right. Not really. My diet remains very consistent. So, all right, folks, we're going to begin 106 on this Friday. Now, right now, we are live on AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. Now, we're also online at our website, which is depetro.com. And then we also, for this hour, we are live on X and also on YouTube and also on our Facebook page. So this portion of the program, now you see scrolling, for those that are watching, you see details on depetro.com. We continue. We have that interview with the eyewitness that saw what happened in Central Falls the other night. Very, very dramatic. We were the first ones to have the interview with Jazz, the 19-year-old daughter, which I think we'll do a follow. I think we'll do a video interview. I think so. It's horrible what happened in Woonsocket. And, and then also, I'll double check. I'm not sure we have, obviously we have the video of the homicide in Providence last night, but I'm not sure it's up on depetro.com just yet, but it will be. But check out depetro.com. And folks, that has links to all social media. We break so many stories there. Just the month of October alone. We broke the Ponagansett story. We have more information about the double murder suicide in Woonsocket. I noticed the rest of the media still don't have that. We have so much more information about the Central Falls situation with Erica. It's like not even close. But nonetheless, folks, remember, with all the people that enjoy what we do, we have that for whatever reason, this hate is out there. I will touch on that, by the way, but it's all on depetro.com, which we're probably going to upgrade in 2026. But right now, it totally works fine for me. Some people don't understand that, but you can't, dig down and follow them. But it's brought to you by the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. Now you have lunch, dinner, drinks in the lounge. Now they have coffee at Coesit. They have a fantastic coffee house right in the front part of the restaurant, the Coesit Inn. That will be my new spot of meeting people. I meet a lot of different people, sources, and so forth. So that will be at the Coesit Inn. Now, let me also work in, yes, there's our friend Chuck. You know what I do like about this? You know what's interesting, folks, and I just want to share this. I mentioned, I on Veterans Day, I had a chance to see someone I used to work with. Guy's a legend in the business, Paul Gianmarco, who's fantastic program director, and he's just a wonderful guy. And it was great because we get to have like a real, talk the business, talk about changing media, and something that's interesting to me is, so I have YouTube TV, and I'm not alone, by the way. 10 million people subscribe, not YouTube TV. So app on my phone, app on my TV. Many of you may have it, maybe you don't have it. I highly recommend it. It has everything. It doesn't have, it doesn't have the Rhode Island legislative channel. Not that I watch anyway. But anyhow, so YouTube TV, it has, it has Court TV. It all has all the local stations. It's like cable, but it's not cable. And I like a lot of the benefits they have. I'm not a big fan of Cox Cable. I broke the chain from that a long time ago. But the thing about YouTube TV is they have been in a dispute for some time now with Disney, and they can't come to terms with Disney. So as a result of that, if you have YouTube TV the way I do, you don't have any ABC programming. So now, that said, I did occasionally used to watch World News Tonight with David Muir, which is number one at 6:30. And I would, so there's no ABC and there's no ESPN. So you just adapt. So I haven't been able to watch Monday Night Football. Now, it's interesting. I have found other ways to watch Monday Night Football. There are these people that do these live streams and they're telling you what's going on in the game. It's kind of different than watching that. But here's the thing. So I can't watch Channel 6 News. I can't watch any programming on ABC. Now, granted, admittedly, I don't watch anything on ABC. I know they have some shows that people like, Dancing with the Stars, Good Morning America, and so forth. I don't watch television at that time. But my point is, like last night, we're at the scene, and I know people are watching us on Facebook, and I know people are watching us on TikTok. We had a good audience on TikTok last night. Over to my left, and nothing against them. I like some of their reporters, but I don't know. My life has not been altered that I'm unable to watch any program on ABC. Now, something also really interesting has happened is, despite that, ratings from Monday Night Football have been through the roof, which means people are streaming the games on their app, either the ESPN app or Hulu app. So if you're Disney ABC, they're going to move more in the direction of like, well, what do we need that person for? And I know a lot of people don't fully understand that, but stay with me, folks. When you step back, let's just say, I'll use a good example, but Channel 10. Channel 10 has the Today Show. I don't know any shows on NBC. I think they have The Voice, I think that's correct. And I'm like many of you. I used to know. I could tell you it was on every channel, like primetime programming, not just Tuesday nights. Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, blah blah blah. But um, I don't know of any of the shows on NBC, and I only know The Voice, and there's some other drama or something. I only know that because of promos in football. But here's the thing: Peacock streaming. What are they? What the networks are going to do? And I'll wrap this up. But the local affiliates are basically middlemen for. Do you understand? There's no local ESPN station. People are just streaming directly from the ESPN app. Last night I watched the Patriots game on the Apple Prime. So eventually, I'm not saying the networks are going to go away, but ESPN is saying why people watching our on either the ESPN app or the ABC Hulu app or whatever the hell it is. But my point is they don't need the middleman, and I think you're going to see more of that. So just to finish this out, last night there's Channel 6. I have no idea if Channel 6 did it. I mean, I could go to their website if I wanted to. That's how I really watch the news. I used to watch the 5 o'clock news, the 6 o'clock news, or I used to tape it. Yeah, I don't watch any of that stuff. The only thing I watch on TV is Fox and the NFL. And on a Saturday, now as I think of it, I've been missing the ABC games, college games on Saturday, but the sun keeps coming up and life just keeps going on. All right. I do want to touch on last night. That was in something pretty, I think, very dramatic last night. And then we also touch on the bridge. Now, tonight, by the way, we have another exclusive guest lined up regarding the situation in Central Falls. So I think since Providence Police, because of ICE, continue to do a fantastic job, I have a feeling we're going to be on tonight, but we're going to do more of our format where we kind of like this with guests. But folks, I want to remind you this portion of our program is brought to you by Propane Plus. Sign on today, log on propaneplus.com. In Massachusetts, 508-252-3359, or in Rhode Island, 401-885-4209. You'll see residential and commercial heating or cooling. You can depend on Propane Plus for all your propane needs. Now, let me do another one while I'm in the mode, because then I do want to touch on last night. I mean, to me, we now know it was a young female from Connecticut who was shot and killed in that apartment sometime between 5:30 and 5 o'clock. I know the police said it was closer to 5, but one of my sources in that area tipped me off to it before 5 o'clock. So, and the whole reason, I mean, we could have been, it's just so impossible with the stupid traffic and the way it goes now. And I'm not talking about regular rush hour traffic. I'm talking about stupid bridge traffic that make it impossible. Sometimes people say, how come you do this stuff at night? Well, because otherwise during the day you can't get around because of all the stupid traffic. It was never like that in the past, but it's like that now, and I can't ignore it. I mean, I was sitting in traffic trying to get to the crime scene last night. But this portion of the program, folks, brought to you by Watson Materials. Call them today, 401-885-0600. Request a free quote. Watson Materials. Make the most of your outside, and they do it all. Landscape lighting, pavers, retaining walls. Call Sean. Request a quote. The most complete selection of landscape materials on Rhode Island is Watson. 401-885-0600. 401-885-0600. Natural stone, cobblestone, Watson Materials. 401-885-0600. So we did get the details. I'm always sometimes intrigued by, someone put a comment on my Instagram that there should be secrecy whenever there's a homicide. The public should not be alerted to it. Folks, I'm telling you right now, we have people amongst us, and you're living in the wrong country. You belong in Cuba. I think you'd be much happier in North Korea. In North Korea and in places like Cuba and China, people are taken out of their homes and arrested and disappear, and no one knows. There's some odd developments going on of people that feel it should not be public knowledge when someone's arrested. There's someone on Instagram, you know, there shouldn't be an announcement when there's a homicide. Female with a gunshot wound to the head, pronounced deceased at the scene. Morgan Lynn Boss, 29, from Vernon, Connecticut. And they do have a suspect in custody. Now, I obviously don't know. I have no idea if that was. I know someone in our chats last night was putting some different names. For whatever reason, I don't think that name matches up. I'm glad I didn't say anything. And I also want to be very clear. And I recognize there are some people, and I try, many of you say, Juan, ignore the lowest common denominator. I get that. But at the same time, many times they're not alone, so it doesn't hurt. Let me just explain. Now, last night was a good example. I knew that there was gunplay involved and knew that it was a female and knew it was loss of life. So, and it's still being investigated. They have a suspect in custody. They haven't announced anything more than that, but we waited. And if you saw our coverage, if not, I put out a small reel on it. Major David LePayton, Providence Police, basically told us that. They were on scene. They're investigating way before the medical examiner got there. But there are people that then say, well, I don't think you should be announcing. You know, what about the family? Well, first of all, I didn't announce. It's kind of interesting. They can't discern the difference between me announcing something and a major within the Providence Police Department. We did not announce anything. I was pretty happy with our discipline last night. Again, I can't control. I understand. I think there was somebody in the chat and they were saying it was a young female, and oh, look at this. I know who it is. It's this girl. She's 21 years old, and obviously that was all false. There was a name I did see thrown out. That was wrong. I can't control everything that goes on, and I'm not saying our mods can either. But for someone to say, so in other words, last night, there are some people amongst us, if they had their way, I'm not live last night. Police are not even announcing that anything happened. I'm perplexed as to who would want to live in that type of society. I find that very dangerous society, as a matter of fact. It's just like these people. You should not have the picture of that guy in Portsmouth, and you shouldn't be naming the pizza place. I am telling you right now, I think there are some people that confused of our system of government. I think they'd be happier living in some communist countries. They may be unaware of it. There are countries like Cuba and North Korea, obviously Russia, China, Iran, where suddenly there's police at the door. They take a family member and no one knows where they went, where they are. They're never heard from again. Are they killed? Are they at a work camp? I mean, that does go on. By the way, coming up at 2:00, ICE grabbed a suspect, Kent County Courthouse. I have, I don't know, I think we may have some video. We definitely have photos of it. I'm going to post that. And I also want to address that last night about ICE. Now, just quickly on Central Falls, the goons that were arrested, they're out. They're out on bail. They are amongst us. They would not be charged with murder. I want to be very clear. We don't know if they're going to be charged with murder. They may be charged with murder. I think, like many people feel, some people feel, I don't know enough about it yet, and we don't know what evidence the Central Falls police have, but they're out. They're definitely out, and they're out on bail. So if you're someone that has dealt with them in Central Falls, I highly recommend you always have your cell phone with you. And if you ever encounter any of them, especially the two top, Josh and Liz, folks, you film them. There's your evidence. You film them. If you and just practice how you pull up filming. Everyone's got a phone. Everyone can film on the phone. Stop doing some of the other stupid videos. Leave enough memory in case you need to film them. The difference of saying one of these people threatened you, it's a huge difference if you have video of it. If they show up at your door and knock at the door and start talking to you through the door and threatening you through the door, get your phone. I can't believe I actually have to explain this, but apparently I have to explain this. So, but they're out. Of course they're out. They made bail. They're charged with, they could face other charges, but they're charged with not reporting a death and moving a body. Those are the charges. So if you're one of the people that is fearful of them or somehow mixed up with Erica's case and impacted by it, I strongly encourage you. Like, I don't understand. Like, why do I even have to explain that at this point is beyond me. But there's people amongst us, by the way, who there's just and I know this from, from doing the show and covering different cases. There's people that don't show up for work and then they're shocked that they lose their job. There's people that don't pay the landlord or pay them on time, and then they are shocked that then the landlord wants them out. There are people who don't show up to court when they're supposed to, and then they feel the police are harassing them on a bench warrant. There are people that pay the credit card bill, and then the credit card company is hassling them and shut off the credit. There's people that, bounce checks, and then the bank is giving them a hard time. I mean, it is just a series of poor decisions, and seemingly always someone else's fault. But we have a good eyewitness tonight with Central Falls. And unless something happens, I mean, if we have another situation like yesterday, like a homicide, I mean, we'll go to that. But as far as the situation last night, the that sure sounds like a domestic. So you have a suspect in custody. We don't know as of yet. They want to determine cause of death. I think some people have to realize there is a process. I've seen some people, I get a lot of times when people go through these things, they've never covered a case or followed a case, and so they legitimately don't know. For whatever reason, a lot of people don't seem shy about posting what I would consider a stupid question in a post, but be that as it may, I think the medical examiner should examine Erica. Well, that's part of anytime you have a suspicious death, anything like that, where they feel it could be foul play, the medical examiner, they do an autopsy to determine cause of death, because it all hangs on that, right? Because you have to be able to prove a certain individual what was the cause of death. And also, not to put on a class here, but there's also a difference. There's manner of death and then the cause of the death. And they're two separate things. The manner of death. So you have someone, just as an example, that pulls a trigger. So the manner of death could be a gunshot wound. Then they break down, they got shot, shoulder, and then it ruptured that, and then it caused, this, and then that stopped the heart beating. So a good example is the Karen Reed trial. The manner was she floored it, backed into him, and sent him flying. So he died from his body temperature dropped to, I believe, close to 80 degrees, where right now your body temperature should be right around 98 degrees. Right. That's why if you have a temperature of 101, you have you're running a fever and so forth. So his body temperature dropped to 80 degrees. And because of he had bleeding in the brain. And then when your body temperature drops that much, your heart stops pumping. So they have to determine what inside the body, caused him to then die. And then the manner of death was her striking him and then knocking him, fracturing his skull on the solid ground. So we don't know what it was. We know with Erica in Central Falls that it was, she was beaten, but we don't know, and that has not been released. And by the way, I know someone said, how come they haven't posted the autopsy yet? Well, because they're investigating, and that's, they're going through the process. The most important thing for the Central Falls Police is to determine what happened and then try to hold those people accountable. And I don't think this is an easy case, but this could go in front of a grand jury. I mean, a lot of things could happen, but it's not overnight. And I talk about this, we often run into people that, I'm not saying it's the fault of the crime shows, but they definitely think that everything, they like, I don't know what's taking so long. And I've had people send me messages. The shows I watch within the hour, they have the medical examiner report, they have the weapon tested. Okay, well, that's a fictional show. That's not exactly a documentary. No, that's a fictional show. Well, the shows I watch, like, what's taking so long? They normally have it done by, well, again, that's not, a lot of times cameras aren't working. There's a lot of different things to go into play. I always like those messages. What's taking so long? The shows I've had people like, what kind of show are you running? The shows I watch, they know everything right by the end of the hour. I received a message last night, or someone maybe posted a comment, or former follower. I don't know what kind of show this is. You show up, you don't know what kind of weapon was used. You don't know the name of the person shot. You don't know the name of the suspect. What kind of show is this? Gee, that's because we're doing it in real time, and none of that information has been released. What kind of show is this? This guy, I could look and find his name. I think he lives in Las Vegas. How do you go live? You don't even know what kind of gun was used. Well, right now, I haven't seen anyone that knows what type of weapon was used. And last night, they didn't reveal who it was. We just knew it was a female that was shot. And I think they're trying to determine, was this a fight? Was it? I don't know. We're going to wait and see how that plays out. Folks, I want to remind you about quality. Remember, call Corey today, but get on that list. Get your garage epoxied before, the clock is ticking. They can only do this for a certain period of time. They'll epoxy garages and patios. They do decorative concrete flooring. They could seal coat your driveway, pothole repair, but get on that list now. The clock is ticking with Corey. They do a fantastic job. Free estimate, 401-283-9815, 401-283-9815 for quality asphalt seal coating. So we're going to talk about Central Falls tonight. We have another person, very knowledgeable in the midst. And what I do like is many of you see over a period of time, by talking with many of these people, is where we drill down and we, get to the heart of what really happened. I also try to explain to people, the type of content that we put out, it's not for everybody. There are people that, and I don't mind, but our content, it's for people that follow the news. It's for people, if you don't follow the news, it's just not going to work, because many of the people, they come in and all they do is start asking, look, I don't know anything about this. Who is this? When did it happen? As I've explained before, I'm not going to watch football with someone that doesn't know the rules of the game. I'm not going to, if you're sitting down and someone says, now, who's this guy for the Patriots? Is that Tom Brady, or who's this guy? You're totally welcome to sit there and try to enjoy a game sitting next to someone like that. I have no interest. At this point, I want to reiterate, if you don't know some of the main players with CF, you have stumbled into the wrong place. It's up to you to get up to speed on everything. It's not, the responsibility doesn't fall to us to bring you up to speed. As I like to say, we're not running a nursemaid here. I'm not a tutor. I have people. Now, how old? It's also not my obligation to answer all your stupid questions, by the way. It's up to you to get up to speed to where we are, and we will do that. Now, I do want to very quickly touch on the hearing yesterday. And so Governor McGreed put up DOT Director Peter Alviti. I don't know what that was all about. I'm not sure what was the plan or why they were confident that he would be able to handle himself with Zach Kuna. I have no idea why. There are several high-paid individuals at the Rhode Island DOT, and they all should have been sitting up there. There should have been at least 4 people up there, not one. Not one. 4 people. Igliosi should have been up there. I actually put out the list yesterday of the different people. Also, by the way, just quickly, Brian Walsh the judge ruled today, is competent to stand trial. I believe that trial should start first week of December. He dismembered his wife, lovely Anna. I'm pretty confident we're going to cover that trial. So, but just staying with like that Robert Rocchio, chief engineer for infrastructure, he should have been up there yesterday. All they had was Peter Alviti, director of the Department of Transportation. Where was Igliosi? Administrative Legal Support Services for DOT. Where was he? Where was Lauren Doyle, director of operations? Those 3 should have been with Peter Alviti. But just to sum it up, what is I know. Yes. Thank you, Lisa. Homework first before you come in and make all kinds of comments. I want to we try to open it up to different people. People like it. It depends on the topic. A lot of times it's subscriber only. But anyhow, staying with DOT. What DOT basically said, and I'm not going to give a perfect analogy, but it was pretty ludicrous, which is they hire someone and then they don't have anyone that can then check the work. And to me, it's almost akin to, can you imagine you hire someone to paint a house, but you don't have the ability to ever check to see if they actually painted the house, if they painted it the right color, if they painted it properly, I mean, it's just ludicrous. And Director Alviti in DOT, this business of, the Washington Bridge is a disaster. In this business of, well, no, we don't check. We hire someone else to check. Well, how do you know they're not in cahoots with the first person? Number one. Number two, all these different drafts of reports, it sounds suspect. It sounds somewhat suspicious. And number three, it's as if, what kind of operation is that? How do you not have someone that then can check to make sure that all the work is being done properly? And they don't. But here's the part that I want to get to is, this whole business of, well, all these other bridges are fine. As Zach Kuna pointed out yesterday, how do you know that? I mean, it's kind of the Secret Service saying, other than Dallas, other than what happened in Dallas, we did a pretty good job of protecting President Kennedy, right? You got to look at the whole scope of this. He did he did 200 events and we didn't have a whiff of a problem. Okay, that may be the case. Daily Plaza, Dallas, that was a little more problematic. But I think, as Zach Kuna pointed out, how do you know that? Like Governor McKee, we have all these other projects. Well, how do you know that? Because what they showed yesterday was they don't know that. So I don't understand the decision. And I don't know. Was it Director Alvidi's idea? No, I'm just going to do this alone. He's not the only one being paid. Where the hell was Igliosi? Where the hell were Rocchio? And where the hell is this Lauren Doyle? You're the director of operations. It should have been at least four people from DOT sitting up there answering these questions. That Igliosi, I've yet to see him comment. He's legal counsel for DOT. I thought Zach Kuna, it was, and I thought he actually went pretty lightly on Director Alvidi. I mean, he could have really been a showboater. I don't have any confidence in this. I think it just reaffirms to me that I don't know who the next governor is going to be, but it can't be that guy. It can't be McKee. I don't know if, I'm not suggesting, I should say, that just, you offer up Peter Alvidi as the sacrificial lamb. I'm not saying that. But they spend an awful lot of money. And boy, it was a different here when it was under oath. But I'm telling you, for the life, I still don't understand why they, unless either Director Alvidi said, no, I'm going to do this alone, which I don't think he should. I don't think he should have that call. I think we deserve a right to know exactly, with what happened and who was responsible. I don't like the fact that it was only Director Peter Alvidi, because I'll tell you why. It comes off as though they were afraid that if you had the four people up there, that somebody may venture off the script and someone might say something to cause problems, and so therefore they're going to keep it contained. That's the way it came off. So none of this improves things, but I didn't think about this. This is 2 years next month that this thing has been closed. And I think Governor McKee, as I've said, he completely underplays how disruptive it has been to people all over the state. And we deserve so much more. But I don't get this whole thing. It shouldn't have been allowed. And I don't know who made that call. I don't know if that was an agreement that the legislative people agreed to, that should be Director Peter Alvidi. I would have liked to have heard from some of these other people. And these people, they're not doing volunteer work. How much does Igliosi makes? Igliosi grabs like $200K from the DOT. And where has he been? He hasn't said one word. That little worm was going to try to run for attorney general. And I think now he's backing down and backing out of it. But he hasn't said a word. How is he still? So no one's been demoted. No one's lost their job. No one's been suspended. I don't, like many of you, I don't understand either. But I think, yes, show flawed system is. And I've known Peter Alvidi for quite some time. I don't know what was accomplished by him just going up there and I can handle this. And in essence, like falling on, I have no idea why he would want to do that. And I'd say that to him, by the way. Maybe I'll reach out and invite him on. So, folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by Kids Club on the Pike. Call Kids Club on the Pike today. Now, remember, they do a variety of different things. And one of the things that they do is they obviously have birthday parties, but they also do before and after school care and preschool. Half and full day program for preschool children ages 3 through 5. They provide transportation, before and after care for school age children, 5 through 12. Kids Club in the Pike. They are right on Plainfield Pike, right on that Cranston Johnston line off 295. You can call them at 401 443 5336. You're going to love it. Right off of 295 on the Cranston Johnston line. Hey, find out the options they have for before and after school care and preschool. Kids Club in the Pike. And remember, you don't have to worry. There's no drag queen story hour. There's no working there trying to convince kids that they'd be happier in a different gender. That's the public school system. You're gonna love Kids Club on the Pike. I appreciate that. It's not happening. Um, I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see. I want to at 143. I think we're gonna be joined by Marie. Folks, I'm going to tell you, for those of you that watch, um, to me, it's not that difficult. So we did touch on Providence, which is we know who the female is. We're waiting to see if there's going to be criminal charges. We don't know that. We do know she died from a gunshot wound to the head, and there was a person of interest in custody. Did she shoot herself? Did the person do it? We don't know. Um, with Central Falls, we're going to go into that tonight. And as I mentioned, those individuals are out. And um, I've already stated, if at this point in your life, if you're an adult and you can't figure out that you need to film someone who's threatening you, I don't know, I can't help you. But when it comes to governor, I just want to mention to people that it's to me it's not complicated, but what Rhode Island needs to do, Massachusetts won't do it, and Connecticut won't do it. But I would like to see someone for governor who wants to have Rhode Island replicate more of how New Hampshire runs their government. As I've stated, New Hampshire is actually a larger state than Rhode Island, roughly the same population, basically. However, New Hampshire has half of the budget, half of the state workers that the state does. And it's such a more appealing state. If Rhode Island was emulated the model of New Hampshire more, as opposed to Rhode Island, to me, is like a tribute band to Massachusetts. And they try to compete being in the middle of Connecticut and Massachusetts, but they do the exact same policies as Mass and Connecticut. The difference maker would be if we had a governor who would have the state follow more the path of New Hampshire. And right now, Nashua, New Hampshire is considered the top city in the country to move to. Think about that. That's pretty dramatic. So that's what I would be looking for. And right now, the Democrats that are running, they all just seem to be different versions of Governor McGreed, which he is a failure. He shouldn't. The idea that he thinks he deserves 4 more years is just outrageous. I don't know what would be left. I'm not sure what would be left of the state if he was given 4 more years. That's what I would be looking for. New Hampshire has no income taxes. That's exactly right. New Hampshire cooperates with ICE. New Hampshire does the budget every 2 years. New Hampshire doesn't have it. This is ludicrous. All these state workers, all these state jobs, absolutely asinine. New Hampshire has better roads. New Hampshire is very healthy. Tourism, people think of them just for the skiing, but they do tremendous business with the lakes, and they do great tourism business. New Hampshire is just a better run state. I'll tell you exactly what it is. New Hampshire is not a welfare state. New Hampshire doesn't they don't have programs that attract a certain crowd. Rhode Island attracts people who are very needy. Rhode Island attracts people and has policies in place to attract people who are very poor, who are very uneducated, who are very unhealthy. Rhode Island is not attracting top people. So you have so many people that left Massachusetts and they moved to New Hampshire. No income tax, half the state budget. Think of that. They do a budget every 2 years, and they're also better balanced. Chris Sununu's leaving, term limited out, Republican governor. They have a much more robust government. So if there's anyone that, I mean, there are people. The station down the dial, there, that's WMKRO, right? From, Ask the Governor, which is really Protect the Governor. By the way, that's another thing. Boy, the station, my old station, as much as people taking shots at Peter Alviti, who really looks bad here, is the joke of the Ask the DOT. Boy, yesterday was not a version of Ask the DOT that people are equipped to. And I wonder, and I would say this to Peter, I wonder if his appearances on WMKRO gave him a false sense of confidence. Like, yeah, I can handle questioning. Obviously not real questioning. But Magritte, he has the campaign worker, right, with Pork Boy in the afternoon. And then they put him on with, Matt Allen, not exactly making the governor squirm, Joe Rogan tribute. And then the whole element of Ask the Governor in the morning. I just have a problem with they allow him to lie. That's my critique. And again, people don't like to be second guessed, or it certainly isn't envious. I give Gene a lot of credit to have to sit there every month and listen to the nonsense that McKee is shoveling forward. I couldn't do it. It would end real quick. There'd be one episode of Ask the Governor. Be a little bit of a different tone. I used to do Ask the Governor. I did Ask the Governor at 2 different stations. I did it with Governor Kachiri. And then, well, anyhow. Now, regards to, it's like we'll have an update on the guy at the pizza place. There were people posting, what happened to innocent until proven guilty, blah, blah, blah. He admitted to the police what he did. What are you talking about? These people that run a soft defense, they have to be somehow either related or friends with the family. That guy, I think I saw that guy was terminated from the pizza place in Portsmouth. I saw some people posting comments. What happened innocent until proven guilty? He admitted to the police he was filming some of the workers in the restroom. He's admitting it. That's what happened, innocent until proven guilty. I also want to mention the concept of innocent until proven guilty. That is true, but that's in a court of law. That's in a court of law. That doesn't mean court of public opinion, right? Like the Brian Walsh case, the guy Cohasset. In court, in our legal system, he is presumed innocent until proven guilty in the court system. I know he committed that. So there's a difference. And OJ is the best example, probably, which was OJ before the trial. These people, what happened innocent until proven guilty? Well, there's 2 different courts. There's the court of law, and then there's the court of public opinion. I mean, anyone that followed that case, you knew that O.J. Simpson was guilty. In our legal system, under the law, he was presumed not guilty and was treated accordingly. So with his trial, I think people must get that confused. But I saw some people posting comments. No one should be commenting on the pizza guy that was filming people with a secret camera. What happened to innocent until proven guilty? I think what happened, I should have actually pulled the comment and put a screenshot of it. Well, if you actually followed the story, the guy admitted to police that was false and had video, and just the notion that he was posting the stuff on social media. I admit I don't understand these people that they seem to have a false sense, as if no one should discuss a case until You should not discuss a case until it's over. The problem is no one wants to. Who wants to discuss a case once it's over? There's a shelf life to the whole thing. All right, folks, this portion of the program, I want to remind you about ServPro. ServPro of Providence. Freddie was asking me. Freddie had a pipe burst at his business and said, Juan, who is that company you recommend? Freddie, call ServPro of Providence. Whether it's fire damage, smoke, water damage, 401 941 5500. Fast, thorough, professional. ServPro of Providence. Fire, smoke, mold. If you have a fire, you're going to have smoke damage. If you have a fire, you're going to have water damage. If you have water damage, you could have mold damage. ServPro of Providence, 401 941 5500. Well, folks, again, good afternoon. Been quite the week of news. I also want to just quickly touch on. So many times when I used to be down in the hood, so to speak, and you still get it. A lot of the people are really friendly and they come up and I watch you all the time and so forth. And it's nice. And we've had different instances. You know, they know me over anyone else in the media. There was someone recently trying to poke fun at some of the coverage we do and was saying, how do they all know him? Well, anyone that has followed it, as Eric of the command center had stated, well, you're the only one that goes into their neighborhoods. So anyone that has watched a lot of when we go live, Road Patrol Live, whether it's Salmon Street or whether it's, the heart of South Providence or Chad Brown or Hartford Avenue, they know who I am because they follow the videos. And so it was always, not always, because a lot of them don't like that I film. And they come up, and we've had some pretty high-profile confrontations. Stop recording, blah, blah, blah. And I've gone back and forth. But what really have changed things, I want to just touch on this, is what the tone started to shift because I supported members of ICE and ICE agents. And there's this false narrative. And you heard it last night a little bit. These people, they're riding by on Broad Street and yelling out, you're a racist. Listen, I want to be very clear. If you support ICE, which I do, I support police. I support the FBI. I support our military. I support IRS agents, ATF. If you're an American and you're working for America, you have my support. So, but this notion, and I understand there's a lot of uneducated individuals, and that never stops them from speaking out. But the situation the other day in Warren, and the fact that ICE had to issue a statement, and you had that state rep, Jason Knight, who came out, this is terrible, and, this should not be going on in Warren, and, how dare them, and they're scaring people. And, well, we've learned a little bit more that ICE released the name of the man that detained in Warren. They detained Alvin Green, illegal with a criminal history, Blount Fine Foods, unmarked vehicle. They pushed him down. They took him. So this Alvin Green was in the country illegally, criminal offender from Liberia. Criminal charges include charges for felony assault with a dangerous weapon, possessing, transporting drugs, forgery, reckless conduct, assault, second degree, disorderly conduct, multiple charges for shoplifting and licensing violations. So let's step back for a moment. He wasn't supposed to be here. So this guy in Warren that they're all screaming, and these protesters, Green first entered the country legally in 2004, but violated the terms of lawful admission. What does that mean? It means they overstayed their visa. A judge ordered him to be moved from the country in 2009. Blount Fine Foods said ICE never entered the building. He was working there. He was supposed to be deported in 2009. They finally caught up to him. Now, who knows how they found out about that? It could have been someone ratted him out. It could have been finally. He shouldn't have been here. But here's the part that I just want to touch on. If you support, hey, wait a minute, this guy from Liberia, he's not even supposed to be here. He came here, overstayed a visa. So many of them do. Since he's been here, he's committed all these different crimes. And he remains free because they can't track him down because he's not a citizen, so they're not exactly sure where he lives or stays and so forth. So what I don't understand is, why are these people yesterday from Jason Knight, or the other day, it was Tuesday, all saying and condemning ICE. And here's my quote, that doesn't make you a racist if you say he shouldn't be here. It doesn't make you a racist if you say he should be deported. We shouldn't have a criminal like that. Number one, he's not even supposed to be in the country. Number two is a list of crimes that he's accused of. So they never answer that. But just to put a period on it, if you support ICE, it doesn't make you a racist. And I refuse to accept that level of criticism. All right. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Great week of shows. Thank you to Gian. If you're listening to the radio, stay tuned for the 2 o'clock news. Now, tonight, everyone else, we're going to be live. We have another very important witness regarding the situation with Central Falls. We'll see you later tonight. Enjoy this Friday.